Storyline number one. I mean, it's the title race because who in the world knows what's going to happen in this league, which is what makes it so fascinating. What does Napoli do for an encore? Pretty much held that team together. Obviously lost Kim, who is not easy to replace. But other than that, it's not like it was a fire sale. Most of that team is still there. Can they repeat what they did last season? I'm leaning toward no. But then again, I thought they were going to take a step back last season, so I can't really put a lot of stock in anything I believe about Napoli at this point. And then you're looking at the other teams. I mean, Inter, AC Milan, Juventus. Can Lazio elevate? I don't see that with Sergei Milinkovic-Savic leaving, but also brought in some new interesting pieces that I like. That's always what makes this league fascinating, is that you have 7 teams and you've had 4 of them. Yeah, 4 of them. I had to check my math. Win this league recently. It's really hard to hold on to the Scudetto once you have it. And so, can Napoli do that? If not, who is the team that shows up or do we get a thrilling 4-way title race because nobody can separate themselves? Then, number 2, everything that's happened in Milan with both clubs. Inter, Christian Islani, Jan Sommer, Marcus Thuram, Juan Cuadrado, all joining. Specifically interested in Marcus Thuram and what he can bring to that team. Andre Onana, Marcel Brozovic, Robin Gosens, Milan Skriniar out. Now, Skriniar was basically gone last season anyway, so he's not exactly a big loss because he wasn't getting on the field. Jan Sommer's a good replacement for Andre Onana. Not the same keeper with his feet, but a guy who has given Bayern Munich all kinds of trouble. So you do feel good about his ability to kind of keep you in a game and make those fantastic saves. There's just a lot of movement here. And this is an Inter team that simultaneously, still working on the Lukaku situation. We'll see how that ends up. And I'll go back to what I said about Inter with the Champions League final. They are really good at what they do. And they also just weren't good last season. Both of those things can be true. Because they got going a little bit and Lukaku talked about this, once they went back to their foundation. But it's not like they were impressive. And AC Milan were even less impressive. So you gotta take it to another level if you're going to go win this league. And then AC Milan. The big criticism I had of that team last season is outside of Rafael Leao, they had nobody to create goals and to score goals. So you bring in Samuel Chukwueze, Christian Pulisic, Yunus Musa, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Noah Okafor. While losing Sandro Tonali, who is going to be a big loss, but also if Yunus Musa is the guy that's going to kind of take that spot, I feel okay. Is he Sandro Tonali? No. But if you're making that sacrifice in midfield to add Christian Pulisic, Samuel Chukwueze, and Noah Okafor to your attack, I'll take it any day of the week. None of these guys are going to carry the attack by themselves. And you obviously also lost Brahim Diaz, who went back to Real Madrid. But that's what Leao is there for. You just need somebody to help him. And between those 3 guys, specifically Chukwueze and Pulisic, I feel like Milan is going to get what they need. And maybe it's not enough to go from where they were last season to being title contenders, because they were just that bad and that inconsistent. But I have a hard time believing they're going to struggle that much again. I really like what they did in this transfer window. One of my favorite favorite windows in Europe. So that is number 2 for me, is just kind of what do we get out of these Milan clubs? How do they follow up what they did in the Champions League? Interesting summers, all of that. And then you can't talk Serie A without talking Juventus. Not a lot happening in the summer. Tim Weah joined, got some loanees on permanent deals. That's about it, which is uncharacteristic for Juventus. We'll see if something happens before the window closes. But really, for me, this is about how do they handle finally knowing what their punishment is and that they're not going to be participating in Europe this season. Because it was going to be the Conference League anyway. Although, from a point standpoint, they qualified for the Champions League. But they already had the deduction in there. So, if I'm Juventus, I would rather not be playing in Europe than play in the Conference League. That's no disrespect to the Conference League. It's about the fact that I don't think they can win Serie A and play in the Conference League with their situation. If they just get to focus on Serie A, maybe they can do it. I'm not picking them. They're probably not the most talented team in this league on paper. But I am really curious and would not be stunned if they have a really, really good season with all the distractions behind them, no European competition to focus on, and just trying to reestablish themselves at the top of Serie A. Again, I don't know if they have the talent to do it, but I am very curious about that, and I expect them to be much better and to be a factor at the top of the table in a way they haven't been the past couple of seasons.